Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here with a quick fishing report for your weekend outlook. Right now we're on the backside of a first quarter moon coming up to a full moon. Want to tell you a little bit about the fishing, the weather, what we're seeing out there on the water. As far as the tides go, it's a little slow right now, but as we move into like Tuesday, Wednesday, tides are going to be picking up as we approach that full moon, which is coming up a week from today, next week, Friday. So tides should be improving. That should help clean and clear that murky water you see behind me. We had a couple cold fronts last week that were pretty significant, kind of stirred things up. This week, we've got a little bit of a weaker front Sunday night into Monday morning. That frontal line will move through, not super significant, shouldn't be super crazy winds. So hopefully the fishing should get much better this week. Really, your best days to fish look like it. Tuesday might be okay weather-wise, but fishing might be a little slow behind that front. Wednesday through around Friday look the best. Now, today, Friday, and Saturday should be pretty good too. We've got a little bit of slower moving water, slower, weaker currents. We're still dealing with a little bit of murkiness and a little bit of a depressed barometer, but things should pick up. I would say today's pretty good, Saturday's better, and then Sunday's going to be a little breezy, Monday's going to be a little tough, then Tuesday it should start to get better, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday looking best ahead of a potentially another cold front coming up next weekend. So capitalize on those little weather windows. Best fishing is always right ahead of a front or a few days behind the front once things have had time to calm down and also clear up. On top of that, we're definitely seeing some good fishing around the area. Things inshore and near shore are a little confused. Offshore is a little picky overall, but doing well, and it's always a great time to get out there on the water. Inshore right now, this past week has been more the cold tolerant species, but this week coming up, I think some more of those kind of springtime patterns should settle in, and hopefully we'll see some of those other species pick up for us. For example, snook this past week was a little challenging. This upcoming week, hopefully we'll see a little bit better bite with an overall warming trend, plus that full moon coming, more salooner major and minors, more feeding opportunities for them too, so hopefully they'll pick up for us. Also on top of that, we've been seeing some pretty steady redfish action inshore. That should get better this week with things kind of calming down, clearing up, those fish able to hopefully find a little bit more of a pattern. Look for the bait, look for the birds, look for the mullet, the signs of life around the grass flats, the oyster bars. You'll find the redfish. The trout action has been pretty steady through the area overall. We're seeing a lot of the bigger trout lately, fishing those edges, those depth changes, those points, those pockets, those potholes, areas where those trout can stage an ambush passing bait. You're going to find those trout more concentrated. We've been seeing them pretty heavily on the dock lights and bridge lights at night. Once we get closer to that full moon, that gets a little bit soft. So fishing the dock lights and bridge lights this weekend ahead of that full moon should be pretty good and definitely more active and more beneficial, you could say. Now, we are seeing a few of those nice sheep's head around. The sheep's head bite this past week has been real good with that murky, stirred up water, those cold fronts. This coming week with the warming trend, those sheep's head will get a little softer, but over this weekend, you should still have some good opportunities. As you can see behind me, that water's still pretty stirred up. So the sheep's head should be good around the dock pile or dock lines, bridge pilings, your rock piles, your harder structures throughout the area. Concentrate those sheep's head. We're seeing some flounder on those sandy edges, sandy areas adjacent to structure. We're seeing some nice whiting along the beaches, some bonnethead sharks, some black-tip sharks just off the beach. Some silver trout have been around pretty prolifically too. Near shore, we're focused on those hogfish around 40, 60, 70 foot of water. Seeing those hogfish pretty good overall. Been a little bit picky and finicky, but we are still catching quite a few of them on the 10-hour all days in those near shore private fishing charters. You got a chance for them on the half day, but mostly we're catching those gray snapper or white grunts and porgies on the half day. The 10-hour, we're definitely seeing more of the hogfish, plenty of those gray snapper porgies, and then also starting to see a few of those lane snapper mangroves. The bites on the lanes and the mangroves have been a little bit tougher for us on the 10-hour, especially as we're fishing shallower, targeting those hogfish. We don't see quite as many lane snapper. We fish a little deeper as things warm up. Those hogfish get softer. We see see more of those lane snapper deeper near shore, 70, 80, 90 foot of water when we're targeting those red grouper come later spring and through the summer. Also more of those mangrove snapper too, but you have a chance for them right now, and then as we fish deeper later on, they get better and better and better. Mackerel have started to show up. We're seeing some bait schools along the beaches. We're right on the doorstep. Water temperature still in the mid to upper 60s, but should creep up this week and hopefully bring those mackerel fired up. We're seeing and hearing about a lot of mackerel at the mouth of Tampa Bay, around Joe Island, around the Skyway, around some of the Egmont areas, Anna Maria piers. So the mackerel are almost here, and that's exciting. Offshore right now, focused on those red grouper, about 100 to 120 foot of water. We're seeing some of those triggerfish, which are back open. We're seeing a couple of those yellowtails. The yellowtail bite is better as we fish deeper. Scamp grouper haven't been as prolific since we're inside that 120 or 20 fathom foot, or 120 foot or 20 fathom curve. But as we fish deeper, we see more of those scamps more frequently. Also, we're seeing some pretty good average size on the mangrove snapper. Mangrove snapper are generally best, bigger lately. We haven't been seeing quite as much quantity, but the quality has been high on the mangrove snapper. Mutton snapper are more common. We are definitely seeing a few of those mutton snapper. Water temperatures offshore are closer to 70 degrees. So we're almost in that time frame where we start to see that spring run of the pelagics, where we see more kingfish. You see a lot of those blackfin tunas. We're coming up on that full moon too. So full moon, water temperatures, it might be a good week pelagic wise offshore. So we're excited about that to go see what we can catch. Hopefully we'll see you out in the water. Don't forget, every Sunday night we give away $1,500 in free trips during our live show. Join us for that. Join us for our Saturday morning Real Animals radio show, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. And hopefully we'll see you out in the water, because if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. And in memory of our good friend and Captain Billy Nobles, do yourself a favor and take a kid fishing. Y'all have a good one.